Welcome to another exciting episode. Today, I had one of my favorite powerhouse women on the podcast, Ashley, who talked about a ton of interesting things, guys. But before we get into it, Jen, how are you and how has your week
Oh, my weekend. Oh man. I'm good. I don't know. I feel like it was kind of a blur. I don't even remember what happened. We're still in baseball, doing baseball right now with our oldest. As far as business related stuff, I'm doing tons of midterm rental sourcing and leases because of the tornadoes that hit in Northwest Arkansas. So just like really doing a lot of more midterm high-end insurance bookings.
You're like way underselling yourself on the midterm stuff. Guys, she's a queen on midterm rentals. So if you have any questions, reach out to her. If you're trying to get into the business, if you have a property and you need help, like Jen is the queen of midterm rentals.
I'm feeling like it right now, but let's see how long
And
that lasts.
that takes us right into Ashley, who just wrapped up a conversation with. And Ashley, you guys went from literally one unit to managing over 80 units now, building an in-house cleaning team. We talked revenues. We talked about an insanely cool tree house and all the projects she's got going on, including a laundry service that's coming up. We
Oh
had
yeah. Yeah, we hit everything. Yeah, her story is awesome, very inspiring, and just she's just like a awesome human in general. So yeah, it's fun. And she loves the farm life as well.
So you guys enjoy. And if there's any other speakers you guys want us to bring on the podcast, drop us a comment below or find me on Twitter or X at Chai and Cabins. And you can find Jen at
At STR Simplified on Instagram or just Google my or Facebook, just search my name and you'll find me.
Enjoy, guys. Ashley, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast because we met a couple of months ago and you are a total rock star. And nothing literally gets me more excited than having women who do shit on this podcast. And do shit to the tune of 60 units. And are we going to 80? Is that correct?
Yeah, we're sitting at like 75 right now, and we have about 12 in the pipeline. So we're rocking and rolling over here.
You're going
It's
to be at
crazy.
100 like before the end of this month, I'm sure.
That's the goal. That's what we had a team powwow this morning, and it'll be here before we know it. So we've made some changes to our systems and processes thanks to you. It like woke me up, and so yeah, I mean, we're just a well-oiled machine. We're, definitely doing things to get better by the day, but I feel like our goal will be met before December. So that's good.
I
It's crazy.
absolutely love it. How did you
Amazing.
get started in short-term rentals?
So in 2014, I went through a life change. It was pretty sudden, but I went through a divorce. It was really unexpected. I had a 4-year-old at the time, and I was a tennis pro. And so, we had just purchased this new house on 4 acres, and I wasn't sure how I was going to make ends meet. So, Airbnb was just coming onto the scene here in Oxford, and I decided that, what do I have to lose at this point? I had to find supplemental income. So we had this 5-bedroom house. We listed it on Airbnb. It did really well. We made, I think, between 12 and 15,000 just renting it for the big event weekends here in Oxford. We're a university town. Ole Miss is located here. And so we just crushed it football season. And I thought, well, gosh, it does so good football season. Let me take what little, investment money that I do have and the earnings that I made that year, and let me build this little cabin. So we built a little cottage on the side of our farm, on the big farmhouse, and it's like a unicorn. It did so well. So we launched it in 2017, and it made around 20 the first year. And then by the third year, we were seeing numbers close to 60,000. So we really grew quickly, and that was even during COVID. People would come and just retreat at the house. But during that time, I kind of dipped my toes in the water, and we decided to get chickens and guineas. So after about a month of having chickens and guineas and nothing died, I was like, I am a professional farmer. I was like, bring on the big animals, anything I can get. And so we got goats and sheep and pigs. So we're basically like the redneck petting zoo of Oxford. Um, so people come and visit for, just to get out of the hustle and bustle of the city. We're really close to Ole Miss. We're about 7 miles. So it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere, but we're very conveniently located to the square and also campus. But yeah, it's just been a wild ride within the last 10 years. Not the plan that I had for my life, but obviously the plan that the Lord had for us. I can sit back and see, how kind the Lord was to put me in special places at certain times and kind of lead me down this path. And we're super grateful. So that's how I kind of dipped my toes in the Airbnb VRBO business, short-term rentals. After, let's see, I
Hey,
guess
Ashley,
I'll.
I have a question real quick.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when you first put the farmhouse on Airbnb, were you still living in it and renting out the rooms, or were you lived somewhere else and you were just renting out the big house?
So we were just renting out the big house, and Lucy and I would shack up with my parents who lived across town, or shack up with my brother. Yeah, we would just, rent the entire place, the big 5-bedroom house, and then crash with friends, which was stressful with a 4-year-old to move in and move out and make sure the house is clean. Because as you know, they're like human tornadoes, and you can have the house like spotless, and you turn around to do one thing and it's like, what just happened? It's so stressful, but you get that ding in the bank account. You're like, "Oh, I am rich." So
Yeah.
it helped. It changed my whole life. So now I'm really dedicated and committed to helping others, other people's lives change in that way too.
I love it. At what point did you decide to go beyond yourself? Like you were running this farmhouse, you guys were running around, you built the cottage, you got the animals. We'll talk about Larry in a second. Life is going. Where did you decide, like, hey, let me help some other people host their property and now build, you know, 80 doors under management? Like that is a completely different model.
It is. So my brother is and has always had this entrepreneurial spirit, and he's been a huge mentor in my life. And I could see his wheels turning, and see the growth in his own life and his family's life just in real estate. He was in the long-term rental game, and so I actually confronted him one day and said, "Hey, I can't stay on the tennis courts for very much longer. Lucy's schedule is going to change, and it's not going to be convenient for me to pick her up after school. And I feel like I'm just getting older. I'm not going to have the energy, the stamina to, deal with 50 kids on the court every day." And so he said, "Well, let's make a plan." And we saw how well the cottage did, and we decided that we would. He actually said, "Why don't you rent or lease the friend that we have a mutual friend who had a condo on the square here in Oxford, lease that from him, furnish it, and whatever's left over is obviously profit." So we did the arbitrage model. I picked up his house, that one condo, and he helped me find another house. So I went from having 2 properties to 4 properties within a span of 2 months. And say that again.
What year was this?
This was, let's see, 3 years ago.
Okay.
3 years ago. So what year? 2021.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I went from 2 places on the farm to 2 arbitrage models. And I just posted everything on social media. And you know how that works. People started calling me and they're like, "Hey, we have a condo on the square. Could you manage ours?" And I remember being at the gym with my brother one day and I was like, they just asked me to co-host their property. And he was like, do it. Just charge them 25%. I was like, really? Okay. So I got one property and I went from 4 to 5, and then it was like a snowball effect after that. So within the first year, I had 38 properties. And it was just myself and a friend of mine that I begged and pleaded, please help me. I am drowning. I was doing invoices by myself. I was answering messages on Airbnb. At that time, we were only hosting on Airbnb. And so, yeah, it was the wild, wild west for sure. But, it was great in the sense that I had to be in the trenches. I had to learn everything from housekeeping to, owner invoices. And so it allowed me to really understand the business from each perspective.
Wow.
That is incredible.
I know, I'm like, wow.
Ugh, I know. Well, you know how you look back, you're like, how did that happen? How did I do that? Because once we, were introduced to the VAs, and I who knew that that even existed? My brother said, "Hey, there's a company that they have virtual assistants that will actually help you do stuff, like set up your software." And I was like, "Wow." I thought it was like a genie in a bottle. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me." So I got on the phone and set up an interview and hired my first VA, and she ended up being just such an answered prayer. And we went from having 38 to 60 properties within 2 years.
That is amazing. So first off, props to your brother for saying,
Yeah.
hey, charge 25%. Because most people go the other way around and be like, charge 10% and
Right.
make sure it's not
Right.
like, I love that about people when they're like, let's go high.
Yeah. Yeah. And we never back down. Julie George, I started after kind of, you know, tiptoed into this business. I realized like I better know what I'm doing, so I started researching, and Julie George was the first person. I read a book and kind of followed her model as much as I possibly could, and catered it to what would work best for us here in this market. But yeah, it was just we kind of flew by the seat of our pants and survived on a wing and a prayer,
I love
literally.
what does your team look like now?
So now my team consists of it's myself. I have my operations manager, Robin. We have a lead VA. We just hired our second. She's not she's about, equally yoked, but we're training her to do more. So we have two full-time VAs and two part-time VAs. The fourth VA does social media work for us, but we have pretty much round the clock guest communication covered, and then they do all, as you guys know, onboarding stuff throughout the day. So then there's a bookkeeper. So she's in charge of, running owners reports and just all the business stuff, business office. She likes to call herself the office assistant. She doesn't like the title of office manager. She said it's too professional. I was like, well, that's what you are. You're a boss. And then we have 8 in-house cleaners and a full-time handyman.
I love it. Let's talk about cleaners and handyman because most people, including me, like outsource cleaning, outsource handyman. Um, how did you decide to go in-house with your cleaners? How do you find them? Stock handyman, like how did all of that come about?
I'll tell you the quick story. I went on a mission trip several years ago when I was after the divorce, and I just kind of needed it as a reset to find my purpose again, to know what was important to me. And while I was over in Belize, I realized just how special it is to be in relation with people, um, how cool it is to empower and inspire people, how that will change someone's life and the lives of their families. And I thought, why can't I bring this home and implement this on the tennis courts? Or, at that time I was on the tennis courts. But once I started this business, I thought, I want to change people's lives. I want to take women who were in my situation, who were broken and felt very unworthy and weren't sure where to go, after a big hit or, a tragedy has taken place. Like, I wanted to be able to be hope for these people and to say, hey, look, if I can come out of the shadows and of the pits, and rise above and make a difference, and so can you. And so I started just noticing all the broken women that were, I was crossing paths with, and just kind of being in relation with them and saying, hey, what do you do? What would you like to do? I hired my first cleaning lady. She was a lady that I found at the laundromat, and she did some extra work for us with our linens. And she just had the best spirit and best attitude for somebody that was, folding clothes all day. And I said, look, I need cleaners for our business. If you would ever like a change, I would be happy to have you on our team. I love your attitude and your effort. And so within a few months, she joined the team. And I've just picked up ladies like that who I've seen just, there's such grit and hustle in their spirit, and they want to make a difference for themselves and their families, but they just don't know how. And so I just try to take them under our wing and give them a fresh start.
I love that. So
Mhm.
everyone you've had has been like word of mouth, like internal for the,
Hmm.
how,
Yeah.
how do you train them?
Usually you find one cleaner and then they tell a friend who's a cleaner, and then we have this unbelievable team of cleaners, and they're just, I mean, as you guys know, there are rock stars.
Oh,
They
yeah.
are the key to the puzzle. And
Mhm.
so we haven't seen a lot of turnover. We actually just lost our first lady 2 weeks ago, but she asked to come back. So I think she realized, like, oh my gosh, what have I done?
Yeah.
So that's the first person that we've lost. And we've just had people, trying to come on board, I think, because, for us, this is like family. And I tell these women, like, I'm going to put you first above myself, and I'm going to find a way for all of us to succeed at this, whatever that takes, and I think it's just a cool feeling to know that people believe in you. And I'll stand on my word, and I will find a way for them. So we've had good luck in that sense of the business. That's hard. That's a hard thing to do, is to keep that turnover rate low.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Yeah.
How do you train them? Do you guys have like checklists, SOPs, photos? Like, what are you guys doing? I'm just curious for my own selfish reasons.
Yeah. So usually our operation manager, Robin, will do a walk through the property with one of our girls, and then just say, hey, here's what we expect. We like to consider ourselves, the Marriott of short-term rentals. And we want our towels to be folded the same way in every unit. We want our beds to be folded down the same way, our shampoos to be placed, you know, a certain way. So whether you walk into one of our units that's 30 minutes away, or, a mile from the square, everything looks the same and very consistent. And so Robin, our quality control manager and operation manager, does a great job training these women and just going through each unit and catering to that unit specifically.
I love it. Jen, you also have a cleaning company, right?
I do.
Yeah, Jen. And that's new, isn't it?
It is, yeah, let's see. I think we started in March. So in Arkansas, well, in our other markets now too, I'm having issues, but I just feel like the quality of cleanings has never been that. I just haven't been impressed by it ever since we started here 7 years ago. And so, like, we've always done quality checks, but it was just kind of getting out of hand. So I was like, I'm just going to start my own cleaning company and hire and train people how I want them to do everything. And so, it's worked out really well. We think we have 5 cleaners right now on our team. And again, this is just Northwest Arkansas area. So they primarily service our management company's properties, but we've also added other clients as well.
Including saving some other people that we won't name.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're trying. Yeah. A Eureka Springs cabin.
Most important client. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's true.
Jen helped me launch the property and then helped me with everything else. I just bought the property and I was like, oh no.
You did?
It's like
That's awesome.
Yeah, we launched I forgot when we launched it, like a month ago at this point.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. And you've been rocking and rolling.
Yeah,
Wait, I think I knew about this property. Yeah, was it kind of fly by the seat of your pants, happened really quickly? I mean, that's everything with you though. Yeah.
She found it, she bought it, she was like, oh, I have to like renovate stuff. I'm not doing that.
Yes. And you sent your designer friend in. Yes.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Was like, is this something you can help me with? And I was like, yeah, not really, but my friend can do this.
So that's cool. And also, talking to you guys, it's so, there's just so many different avenues that stem from short-term rentals. So I have a good friend that I went on another mission trip to Africa, and she was just, bummed about being in the workforce and working so hard and making so little. And I was like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you love? And she said, I love to decorate. And I said, perfect. Surely there's a way for us to incorporate your services for our business. And that was 2 years ago. And we're about to launch it's called VDV, it's Velvet Ditch Designs. And so we are attaching that to the business, and we will offer those services as well. So, and it'll give her, it'll fulfill her passion, and she is so good at it. So I'm so fired up about that.
That's awesome. You mentioned the name. Maybe I've asked you before, but I think it'd be fun to hear the story behind the name Velvet Ditch Villas.
So, I really didn't expect this to be where it is today. When I created that name, I was sitting on my couch in the cottage and I was like, I just need a catchy name for the LLC. Like, this is not going anywhere. So I was like, this is so cheesy. But Oxford is known as the Velvet Ditch. Actually, William Faulkner dubbed it the Velvet Ditch because it is a place that you come to and you crawl in and you just can't leave. It is just like cozy and warm here, and you just never want to leave. And so Oxford is always referred to as the Velvet Ditch. So when I was sitting here brainstorming, I was like, Velvet Ditch Villas, that'll work. But it ended up being catchy and sticking. And so, we've had some comments thrown around about the name, because if you don't know, if you're not from the South and you're not familiar with William Faulkner, the name can go all over the place. It can if you know what I mean. I mean,
yeah, I was thinking about that, but yeah, I can see that now.
Oh, my uncle is from Colorado. He's like, what did you say again? What was that name? I said, oh my gosh. Wow, I didn't even think about that. Like, yeah. So it is, it's a great topic of conversation. I'll just keep it at that.
No, it's a great name then. If that's literally what Oxford is called, then yeah. And
Yeah.
it is like you don't forget it. Like you wouldn't forget that because it stands out,
Yeah.
So now for the most important question of this entire podcast.
Uh-oh.
Introduce us to Larry. Who is Larry? Why do we love Larry?
Oh gosh. Larry is a farm favorite. He is a goat. He's a white billy goat that is cross-eyed. He looks like he has mange, and he has just come home from the bar after a late night. He is just a character. So, sad to say, Larry has left the farm. He went to live at a different farm because he was quite the ladies' man. And and I would turn around and have 10 babies that looked exactly like Larry, and I was like, this guy needs to hold his horses. And so he went to live down the road. But he's a legend at our farm. He will live on forever.
I love
Are your guests involved in like the farm life? Like, do they get a farm experience?
They do. They get a farm experience. That's what makes it so special. When I decided to keep the farm, there was, when we first discussed, do I stay at the farm? Do we, it wasn't a farm, it was just a house on 4 acres. We have turned it and created it into this special place. But I'm so glad I decided to dig my heels in and create this special place for not only Lucy, it was definitely for us as a way to escape after a long day of working or school. But also, it just gives me the opportunity to talk to so many guests and children and introduce them to animals that they've never held or touched or fed before. We also have schools that come out, special needs classes that come out, and it's just been such a gift, not only to us, but I feel like our guests really enjoy it as well too.
That's my favorite part about this business. It gives you the freedom to pursue whatever
Yeah,
you would like.
yeah. It has just been I pull up every day in our driveway and I look at my daughter, I'm like, I love our house. And she, of course, gives me the 14-year-old eye roll and she's like, oh, you say that every day, Mom. I'm like, well, it's like truly a gift. I'm so honored that we get to do what we get to do and that this is actually my job. It doesn't feel like a job. It's just so fun. And every day is so different. I got a call the other day, like, all your goats are out across the street and Blanche, the pig, is just on a joy walk down the road. I was like, great, I'll be right there.
I think something you mentioned right before we started this call, which I wanted to hint on. I think you said you were taking your daughter to soccer and tennis, and you're driving around, and you're like, this may be one of the only businesses where you can do that, or jobs where you can have a flexible schedule while still serving so many of our clients and so many of our guests. You want to talk a little bit about that? I think that's the coolest thing.
Yeah, it is the coolest thing. Never in my wildest dreams that I think that I would have freedom of time or financial freedom. I just never, I didn't grow up like that. My parents were such hard workers and we lived paycheck to paycheck. And this has just allowed me a completely different life than I grew up knowing. I've also helped some of my friends get on their feet and, earn extra money and through this business as well. So it's just, I would never tell anybody not to step in and, if you have that little itch or desire to do something, for supplemental income, this is definitely an avenue that I would pursue over and over again. And it's just so exciting. It's like you get one, it's so addictive. You're like, where's the next one? So yeah, just never ends too.
Agreed. The coolest part, I think, is I know the cleaners we work at say this too. You get a really good work-life balance, especially when you have young kids. You can work kind of different
Yes.
schedule.
Yes.
Really, really helpful for moms.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Jen would be she's got the little ones. Now, when Lucy was, I guess she was about 6 when I was juggling all these hats, but I was still working 3 jobs at the time. I was a tennis pro. I did Airbnb, staying up until 4 in the morning, cleaning the house if I needed to. And then I also worked in the school system as a PE teacher. So, it's hard work at first, but once you get established and you set roots and you have 1 or 2 properties, it's life changing, truly.
I love it. What is next for you?
Wow. There's so much on the horizon. So the next big thing is for us to launch this design company. So that will be soon, within the next 2 weeks. We have a treehouse launch. So my brother and I and another partner we're almost finished building our first unique stay, and it's out in the county, and it's just this cool tree house, and it's got the cool little drawbridge with the little kids' house and the bunk beds and the slide that comes down and the fire pit. It's like the quintessential, treehouse stay that you see on Airbnb that you're like, wow, I want to stay there. So we decided that we would make that happen here in Oxford. So that will be launching within the next month. We just closed on two different properties of different pieces of land out in the county so that we can I think we can put 4 different unique stays on these properties. So we closed on those 2 deals last week. Thanks to Jen, I have my wheels are spinning for this laundromat, the short-term rental laundry service. So that's in the works. My sweet Linda, who was our first hire, that will be her baby. So we have the space for it. We have all the machines in place, and now we just need to launch. Is there
Yay,
anything?
I'm
Oh,
so
there's,
excited.
I know, right? It just takes one
Questions
little
now.
idea. One little idea. And there's another big thing behind the scenes, but I can't speak on it yet because it's not out in the public. So, but
Fair. I've already so
I
many
mean,
questions. Okay, let's talk about this tree house. I had no idea there was a tree house in the works behind all of this. How did you, so I'm guessing the inspiration came from Airbnb, but what was the build process like for something like that?
so we found this parcel of land in the county, and there happened to be a dilapidated house. You couldn't even tell it was a house. It had good bones. And so we tore everything down, and it was on this little bitty pond. And so we thought, well, this is the perfect. My brother and I had always wanted to create these unique stays. We just love being out in nature, and we kind of grew up in the country. So it's what makes our heart happy. And so when we decided, we found this land and we decided this is going to be our first tree house, first unique build, we're going to go all out. So it has taken a little longer than expected, just because our crew has been building and working on several other projects. But it's about 6 months in, and I think we're looking at 1 more month. We're starting to get furniture in, and design is going down. So
Is there
it'll
any,
be
are there any other unique stays in that area, in the Oxford area?
not
Right.
like this. And that was our goal. This was to be the coolest Airbnb in North Mississippi. So I think we have accomplished what we set out to do. We shall see, but I don't know of any within within the surrounding counties or North Mississippi that could touch this guy. So I am so excited about it.
I love it. Where did you find like the builders, the plans, the tree?
Yeah, well, so we took the cottage, which I sketched out from Pinterest, and my contractors, drew it to scale. So we took the cottage concept at the farm and basically expanded it and just made it a little bigger. So we just gave them those sketches and they drew it to scale. And um, the tree, so it's surrounded by trees. It's not actually like in the trees, but it looks like it is, in the trees. Now, the little tree house that is connected from the drawbridge and the main house, it is a tree house. And that's where there's like 4 little bunks, and the kids will go, and there's a slide that goes down. And so, our idea is like the adults can have fun and camp out, and the kids can just slide and wear themselves out and have their own little space.
How big is that? Like, how many rooms are in the main treehouse?
In the big tree house, there's a loft upstairs with 2 queens, and there's 1 primary with a king. And we have an outdoor shower, and 1 primary shower, and it's got the really nice soaking tub, and then a half bath as well.
How did you like the construction process? Because I've heard like every time you do construction, there's something that happens like like even when we rehab, like something happens, and I'm like, great, I'll never miss.
Girl, that's not my cup of tea, which is why my brother and I, that we make a really great partnership, because he loves doing that. So that's his avenue. And then I take everything else, the setup on short-term rental, all the short-term rental platforms, and the design. So that's what I love to do. But yeah, I don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I say yes, no, I don't like that. I do like that. But I point yes, no,
That's exactly how my hotel renovation has been. I don't touch it.
Yeah.
Because
No.
I don't know what to do. I'll just be like, okay.
I know, to each their own, and it's so nice that when you do figure it out and you're like, I don't like that. And you can, you know, give it to someone else and get it off your plate.
Agreed. So let's talk about this laundry service. What is a laundry service?
Thank you, Jen. So Jen was telling me about this laundry service at our last board meeting. Basically, they were making upwards of 1 million annually and it's just catered to the short-term rental market in Arkansas, in northern Arkansas. And so I thought, we have a very similar market than where she was talking about in Arkansas. And I said, why can't I just bring that concept here? I did some research. We already had the facility. We had the machines. And so, I mean, it's a no-brainer. So all I did was it's all your fault, Jen. Your $1 million
I know. I'm so glad.
idea.
Well,
I
listen,
know.
I've had this, so I had this idea years ago. I told Ryan we should start a laundry service for
Yeah.
short-term because no one was doing it here. And with most of my ideas, it's that's nice, but but like, okay, stops there. So then last year I was cold called by a company that does this. They started a year ago, and like they have these awesome machines. They only service short-term rentals. They're not open to the public, and each machine is programmed for each property.
Mhm.
Like like you can pick the
Detergent, the
detergent, like
softener.
yeah, anything,
Mhm.
like whatever you want to put in there, they will do it. And it's programmed. Like it's amazing. And he was like, yeah, he's like, yeah, we have 70 STRs that we're doing, and now we're also doing the hotels in the area. And I'm like, so
Right.
so we do use them for our through our cleaning company. But yeah, I was telling Ashley about it. I was like,
Here's the best part. You don't have to actually own these machines. That was what I was so scared of. I was like, oh my gosh, these machines are so expensive, but you rent them.
So you have
Yeah.
these machines?
Well, so we don't have these machines, like the actual commercial machines.
Uh-huh.
With my brother's long-term rentals, he has a storage room full of used machines. So until we get our boots in the sand and we actually plant ourselves, we're going to just use these machines. However, when we do get ready to upgrade, we are going to lease, because apparently these machines break a lot, and you can lease, and there's service providers that will come and fix pretty quickly. So it's an option, but yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. I just figured,
Oh,
yeah, they
yeah.
were super expensive. They look
They
like
are
they're super expensive.
Everything's expensive these days.
That's true.
Sorry, y'all, I'm having to plug my phone in
You're good.
before it dies on us. If this is, yeah, okay.
And okay, and then you
Okay.
said you bought another parcel of land.
So we bought, with the arbitrage units that we've had up and going for about 2 years, my brother and I, we have 8 at the moment. We'll have 10 in about 2 months. With those arbitrage units, we were able to purchase both parcels of land. So it's 2 acres total, but it's 1 acre in different parts of the county. So it's a win. In less than 2 years, we've made enough money to purchase some really nice land.
That's amazing. And and you
Mhm.
said in more unique stays, do you know, I mean, do you have any idea, any little hint of what you're gonna put on those?
Yes. So y'all have heard of I know, Jen, you have the grain bins, the silos.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mhm. So we actually know someone, and this comes from the farming world, where I purchased my sheep. There's a place in Como, Mississippi. I purchased my baby doll sheep from over there. There's a farm. And there's a gentleman we know that, owns the farm, and there's two old grain bins sitting on that farm. And he's like, if you can move them, honey, you can have them. And so I was like, deal. And so as soon as we can, clear the land and get everything set and prepped, we'll start working on those grain bin silos.
And
And so that's
how far are these from Oxford proper?
um 5 minutes from the
Oh,
square, 5 minutes from town. Yeah. Maybe 7 minutes from campus. So again, you feel like you're out in the boonies away from, everything. You see the stars and you hear, the crickets and the birds, and it's just being one with nature, connected with nature. Yet you're just super close to every convenient, every convenience that you need. So I think it's going to be a win-win here.
yeah.
We have so many people that travel through not only to see the university, but it's home of William Faulkner and Roanoke, and there's museums here, and always weddings that are coming into town, and just events nonstop. Especially with the like I said, the university and the sporting events it's huge.
I love it. How do you fund like a tree house or these unique stays? Are you guys using cash or do you have like maybe a local lender?
So we financed this deal several ways. We took some of our personal money and invested that. We also have two different partners, one of which is a family member who loves to invest in. He's just been so cool and like invested in us, like Cass and myself, especially my brother. They're big time partners in a lot of the long term deals that they do around here. But he's a partner as well. So we try to use as much, personal. Try to stay out of the banks, commercial lending as much as possible. There's always creative financing ways if you can, like my brother always says, if the deal is good enough, you can find the money.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about your network, right? Like private
Right.
is my favorite one too.
Right.
So much easier to
And
raise.
at this point, I think, this is still a small community, right? And so people have started to see what we do and they trust us. I think our reputation, is stands well in the community. And so people are kind of wanting a piece of the pie, like, hey, next deal you have, like, let us know. We'd love to help, or we'd love in. So we've gotten some leads that way as well.
I love it. If people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
On the farm, girl. I'm just kidding.
Oxford, Mississippi, on the farm.
Yes, on the farm. So they can find us on Instagram at Velvet Ditch Villas. Also, I'm on LinkedIn, Ashley Freeman, and we're also on Facebook for Velvet Ditch Villas as well.
LinkedIn, huh?
I had to step up my game. I don't really pay attention to it much, but you have to have some presence out there. So
I think LinkedIn is my least favorite social media platform. They'll probably never sponsor this, which is
look,
fine.
I don't do diddly squat on LinkedIn. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah. I was just curious. I was like, LinkedIn. I just think the platform is so ugly and I get spammed all the time on it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
same. I need to learn to tap into YouTube because you're the YouTube queen and the Twitter queen, or X,
I love
whatever it's
Twitter.
called
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I do love being
Yeah.
on Twitter and X, and YouTube is, I love being on YouTube too. I've been like binging.
See, I haven't tapped into all that. I'm kind of like a tech dinosaur when it comes to social media. I love it. I love the creative side, I don't, necessarily have a lot of time to delve into it, but I would love to tap into YouTube, and TikTok is huge here. If we could just tap into that market too.
Agreed. Thank you, Ashley, for coming on. This was
Oh my
awesome.
gosh, I'm so glad I got to see y'all's faces and just chat. It was a gift to me.